to some praise and worship and then jump right into the word. Well, y'all, we just thank you right now in the name of your son, Yeshua Mashiach, for just being with us throughout this day. We thank that we have set aside this day for y'all to be able to just reflect on ourselves, things that we need to, get right, things we need to straighten up with you, Father y'all. We thank you that we ask you forgiveness for all our sins, all our trespasses. Father y'all, we just thank that we realize that this is a day that you have made and we should continue to rejoice and be glad in it, Father y'all. Father y'all, we cancel all the assignments and all the works that the enemy has brought our way. We quench every fiery dart with the word of you, Father y'all. Father y'all, we thank you for our strength in the Mashiach and Yahushua Mashiach, Father y'all. Father y'all, we just thank you right now for just being with us as a whole. We come against all forms of sickness, all forms of disease. We come against any infirmity, anything that tries to stop or hinder us from doing the work of you, Father Yah. And we thank you, Father Yah, we be obedient unto the will of you, Father Yah. We thank that we forsake our way and begin to walk in the ways of you, Father Yah, which are the ways of righteousness, Father Yah. Father Yah, in the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray, so be it. All right, shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom, I would say shalom to those that say that. Another day, another wonderful day that the Most High has given us. We're going to be talking about, giving, do not give that which is holy unto dogs. And it's kind of the same script that talks about casting your pearl before swine. And we're kind of going to get into that because when you're dealing with pearls or that which is holy, is any resource or anything that you have to offer, anything that belongs to you that you can give. And it's not, it's not just money, like a lot of people put it into money. No, it's just based on, whatever you have, like the gifts that you have, anything that you have that can be utilized, need to be utilized concerning the uplifting and the building of the kingdom of Yah. Not just, you're not just somebody that people can just yank your call or whatever, like you're a dog or something, when they get ready to call for you and you just run. You have to be led by the Ruach on which way you're going to be used, because a lot of times people use you up. A lot of times people are not for the Most High. And it just goes back to, makes me think of a post I saw on Facebook, and it was talking about those that didn't even recognize the Mashiach, those that actually, and that's different from people that never believed at all, from people that once believed in the Mashiach and then now they've turned their back on them because they came into something new. Or you have people that just straight out only want to just believe that the Mashiach never came, but they're still saying, that, they're believers in this truth. But according to the script, if you don't recognize Mashiach, you ain't gonna make it in. I don't care how much you call Yah. And those are the ones you have to watch out for, when you're dealing with, I guess, the manipulation of the word, those that are trying to tell you that believing the rest of the word is based on our oppression and stuff. So that's just one thing, but we're gonna get into talking about discernment. You know what I'm saying? You have to discern good from evil and right from wrong with just the ability to judge, basically, to judge those things, to be able to judge when someone is playing a game on you. I wrote a few things down that talks about how discernment, it overrides you being led by your emotions or either someone else's emotions. It overrides, you being moved off of fake tears and slick talk, things that, ones may come, and try to tell you certain things to try to get you to go along with what they want you to go along with, or to get some type of gain on you. You know what I'm saying? Just whatever it may be, if they're trying to get some type of money from you or to pay something or to do something. You have a lot of manipulating people out here that they'll actually pull you down because you'll find yourself being, and I won't use this word curse, but I would say you'll find yourself, I would say, being barren or being in a position where it seems like you can't get ahead because of ignorance. And it's like you'll let, I guess what you say, your heart. You want to say, well, you're not supposed to be led by your heart. You're supposed to be led by, by the Ruach HaKodesh, because the heart can deceive you, because you can develop soul ties through the heart. You know what I'm saying? It's not all mental. That's why when you start dealing with these things, you have to watch out for dark psychology and stuff like that, ones that actually try to utilize things that they're trying to do to get you involved in it. You're not supposed to be involved. They utilize tricks and schemes and games, and they come off like, salesmen or whatever like that, trying to, they start a long story, and at the end of it, it's a pitch line, which is hook and sinker. You know what I'm saying? Like you bite the hook and you sink down, but you have to know how to watch out and to discern these things. And we know that discernment is a gift that you must pray for. You need to get it, and you need to make sure that if you don't have it, you need to at least know the basic fundamentals of what you knew throughout life that worked. You can still have a memory that will actually help you calculate these things. And if you can't do it, you need to get somebody that can help you do it. Like sometimes you don't need to make risky decisions and stuff like that without the help of wisdom or the wisdom of those that are wiser than you. So there's no excuse. If you don't have discernment, you can at least be obedient and realize, like say, what choices you need to make versus what choices you don't need to make.
And some of us do have discernment and don't use it. It's important that we use it as well. It's not just get it, but once we get it, to utilize it.
That's right. I kind of looked at a few things and I was kind of meditating on some of this stuff. Key thing to discern is, like I just talked about, manipulation and deception. And deception, it's an actual, it's a ruach. You know what I'm saying? It's an art. Manipulation is an art. People that manipulate, they pretty much have already set in their heart the outcome of the situation before they even started. Like if they come to you, they don't really come to you so much as to ask you for something or to ask you to do something. They come with the whole sales pitch line of all they showing you how good this is, why you need to be involved in it, and then they ask you in the end. And when you catch it in the end, normally it was already determined or predetermined that they want to get you to do this. It's manipulation. I mean, manipulation is something as simple as what you see around you. Propaganda, it manipulates your thought process. It makes you want something that you shouldn't have. When you see snack, just simple stuff. You know what I'm saying? You just have to make sure that you don't allow things to manipulate you or people to manipulate you. And you have to make sure you watch out for deception, because you can be deceived by listening to somebody that has that art of manipulation. They'll have you, on the same page they're on, but you'll be going down the wrong road because they've already manipulated you and they've deceived you. And once they finish telling you about whatever it is they're trying to get you to do or to go against, now you're on board and you're headed down the wrong road. And so basically we're just looking at, it's kind of talking about, like I say, not giving that which is holy unto dogs. And if you have something, you have to cherish it. If you have a gift, it's supposed to be used for the Most High, not used for somebody to get gains. You're not supposed to be sitting up in somebody's, facility, church, whatever you want to call it, prophesying for money. It's not supposed to be that way. When you do these things, you know what I'm saying, you're doing the opposite of what the Most High wants you to do. When you're prophesying, it's supposed to be for the edification and the upbuilding of the church, not to get gains. And there's nothing wrong with somebody giving somebody a love offering, whatever they want to call it. But what I usually see is things structured towards getting the money for the prophecy. And that's the same thing as a soothsayer. It's no different than going to get your palm read and they say, look, it's going to be X amount of dollars. I'm going to read your palm and tell you your future and you pay me. That's the same thing they're doing. You have to be aware of that, because if you're not aware of it, you'll find yourself caught up into a form of witchcraft and not even knowing it. You know what I'm saying? It's just deception. So basically, we talk about fake tears, slick talk, things that you have to be aware of and watch out for. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. And I'm going to just try to stick to the point with this and not venture off a whole lot. And so we're going to go to Matthew chapter 7, verse 6.
Right. Matthew 7 and 6. Give not that which is holy unto dogs, or kodesh unto dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you.
Okay, and see, this is what I want you to look at. Look at this whole thing. We already talked about that which is holy unto dogs, pearls before swine. It's not money. It's not, we can't say it's not money, but it's not just limited to money. I'm saying this is anything that you have to offer. And this tells you in the end, when you're ignorant to this, it says they're going to turn against you, pretty much. They're going to just, pretty much to translate this, they're going to turn against you. You ever help somebody and then it just, all of a sudden it's like you done just poured your heart out. The reason why this happens is because we're human and we're in the flesh. So we don't be led by the Ruach. We help family members, we help people that we know, close friends, and it's against our better judgment. And because we see the situation that they're in, we try to help them. That's a form of casting your prayer before swine, or giving that which is kodesh unto dogs, because it wasn't the Most High's will. And we'll make it the Most High's will. Like you can make anything the Most High's will in your own mind. Like I can go do something and just stamp the Most High on it, and he didn't want me to do that. And everybody rallied with me and we do it, but it wasn't the will of the Most High. That's the same thing happens when you try to help certain ones that you're not supposed to help. Right. And you help them anyway because you see with your natural eye that they have a situation they're going through. But if you would pray first and then seek the Most High and say, is this your will that I do this? He tell you, no, you have to accept it, but you won't accept it because of the flesh. See, this flesh is something like we've been taught through, I hate to keep bashing this, but I got to use it. We've been taught through church and Christianity to be soft. I'm saying like in a sense where we mix up when it's time to have compassion and when it's not. Sometimes we jump out of season, we have compassion based on someone else's situation. And that's the reason to have it. But sometimes the Most High want to put brakes on it because they're not going to be worthy of it. And it shows you when they slap you in the face. You try to help somebody and they turn back around and boomerang on you. And you would say, I did this, and now you did what you wanted to do. That's not the Most High fault they did that. You entered into a situation because you let somebody's situation that they had cause you to have pity on them. And because you had pity on them, that's not the Most High. You're not supposed to just run around doing stuff. If you notice, the Mashiach, he did everything decent and in order. We'll get later to a few scripts that talks about when ones tried to approach him, if they wasn't of the fold, he didn't just let it happen. It's almost like he was ignoring them. He wasn't. He was just focused on his mission. And you'll see the people that tried to get his attention, they cried harder and harder. And it's like he went through a process of elimination. He would see whether or not they're worthy or not. He say, look, great is your faith. Or he'll say, look, no great faith have I seen, no, not in Israel. So it's like you'll always see something that led into him doing this. If he wasn't on his mission, when he was on his mission, say he was moved toward compassion and he healed those. Certain ones he was healing. But when someone came in the midst, like the woman that was grabbing at his garment, she just came out of nowhere. It wasn't anything, that wasn't his mission, but her persistence showed that she wasn't doing something hypocritical. She wasn't trying to manipulate him. She was just trying to get some help. That's different. You have certain people that feel like you owe it to them because you may be, kin to them, as we say, a family member or a friend. So they feel like since you have it, what you have is mine. That's not scripture. That's I don't know where they pulling that from, because you can find anything in script and make it fit what you're trying to do. That's not the Most High. When you do that, it cancels out the Ruach HaKodesh. You can't cancel out the Ruach. You have to move by the Ruach. And when you move by the Ruach, sometimes it'll go against what you would do as a natural person in your natural body. As a natural being, it's natural that you help your biological brother or biological sister or non-biological, however you want to put it. It's a natural thing that you would do that. But when you're in the Ruach HaKodesh, sometimes the Most High may say, look, it's not time. It's not saying that you'll never help them, but sometimes helping them may be your downfall. To put you in a position where you'll say, well, dang, I did what I thought I was supposed to do. Yeah, you did what you thought you were supposed to do. The word said there's a way that seems right unto man, but the end of it is destruction. And that's the thing, because if it caused some type of hurt and pain, you helping them causes you to be hurt. That's not the Most High. That's not how the Most High operates. This has been taught through religion, that you're supposed to give your last and do this and be down and out. It's all against scripture, because when you look at scripture, it doesn't talk about these things. It talk about now that get an understanding. So if I'm giving toward a cause of a ministry, towards something, it is my business to know where that money is going. That's my money. I work for it. So I'm supposed to know what cause is it going to. Because if it's not, then it's just going before swine. So I'm giving that which is kodesh unto dogs. And so it's not supposed to work that way. It is my business. If I give you something and it turns around, you buy some drug, you take an overdose and die. Well, yeah, that was my business, because did the Most High tell me to do that? Did he tell me to give that to you? And so like we make excuses to do things because we feel led to do it in our own flesh. And a lot of times that'll get us in trouble. So we have to be careful that even when we give certain people things that we think is worthy, sometimes they're not worthy, and the way you'll see it, it'll backfire. They'll never be satisfied. It's like you can't satisfy them. It's like it's always going to be something that they need more. They're never going to get to the end of it. It's kind of like you have to make sure that you give them the tools they need so they can keep fishing rather than constantly giving them the fish. And this is what we have. We're so focused on giving them the fish because we have it. It doesn't matter how much you have. This goes from a millionaire, thousandaire, whatever you got, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you are. It means that it has to be calculated by the Most High. Should you do this, or should you do, or you shouldn't do it, basically. This here just trips me out because I'm looking at this because a lot of times, a lot of people downfall is mixing everything up in one bowl. They feel like, okay, just because I'm of the Most High and I'm a believer, I just gotta just free fall and just anybody that comes up to me, I'm supposed to be running around praying, supposed to be giving them this, doing that. You have to find out what the mission is and what's the focus. Once you get folks and locked in, when loose ends come, these things you have to be careful of. And you have to say, look, this is not part of what you told me to do, but do you want me to entertain this or them? And if he say no, then you have to be wise and say, look, I'm not going to entertain them. I wrote down a few things to help people that just don't understand. When you're dealing with somebody and it seems like you're feeling the pressure of being manipulated or sold, I would say, like, you know how a salesman come to you and they're trying to sell you a car or whatever like that. When people sell their ideas, they sell their mess to you sometimes. They want you to be involved in it. So you have to know that you're grounded in the word. And if you're not, you have to get grounded in the word. If you are, you need to stay grounded in the word. The next thing I put, you have to listen very carefully. When they're talking to you, just listen. If you listen very carefully, it'll eventually come out what they're trying to do. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy into it. Just listen very carefully and begin to just do the process of elimination, saying this is not right and this is right. And you'll begin to hear the things that are not right in the conversation. Don't overtalk them. Hear them out. Hear them out. And don't when you start trying to get into the conversation, you bind into it. Just listen. And when the break comes, then you can say what you got to say or go ahead. And then, if it seems like it's foolishness, reflect, start a whole different conversation. And that'll let them know, look, they ain't really listening to me. It's like they're trying to, brush me off. But you're not brushing them off. You just don't agree. And you're not going to act like you agree by sitting there. Sometimes you have to cut the whole conversation off if this is somebody that's foreign or somebody that you don't deal with on a regular basis here. So like I say, switch the subject, ignore them. Trust in the Ruach HaKodesh. You know what I'm saying? You have to trust that, okay, look, this doesn't feel right in my Ruach. I'm beginning to feel uneasy. I'm beginning to feel grieved with what you're bringing to me. This makes me feel like something isn't right about this. And if it does, then it's not a first mind, it's the Ruach HaKodesh when you're a believer. So you have to say, look, I'm fine, I'm not going to be a part of that. You can just move forward or miss me with that, whatever you want to say. And that's what you have to do. You can't be so quick to be gullible and just let people just pull the wool over you and just get you involved in everything they got going on, all their financial and personal and everything. You have to have some boundary lines set up. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way you're supposed to be. But when you're not like that, it opens up the door for the enemy. What people do, they prey on your weakness. They say, oh, look, now I done got them, I done came up with these crocodile tears, I'm crying and let them know how bad my situation is. But if you watch this person's track record, especially if they're saying they're a believer, and you see over and over again, it's the same situation as a pattern, well, then it's a problem. It's an issue. Like, it doesn't take forever to get some type of breakthrough in certain areas. It's like every time I see you shouldn't always be having a bad time financially. It's like sometimes we have to sit down at the drawing table and say, look, what needs to be switched? What are you involved in that's taking so much of your resources? Or do you need to pick up a second shift? Whatever you need to do, because the word talks about, you have to work. You know what I'm saying? If you're not working, then why you run to somebody else trying? Because most of these people are not even trying to work. Most of them are just out here just trying to manipulate and trying to get over in any way they can. And then it's like, if they are working, they're spending their money toward things that doesn't make any sense. That's not a priority, but then they want you to come help them with the necessities. And you have to be aware of all that. So it's like, when you come and ask somebody for something, or somebody asks you for something, be ready for the question. Like, you can't ask me for something and don't want me to know what it's for, or why you're in this position to get it. Like, what put you in this stage? It's like, this was always known. This was always known. When Yeshua Mashiach dealt with certain individuals, he would ask them certain things. He would always want to know, what's the case? He'll say, go that way and sin no more. Even the disciples want to know. Certain people always want to know what's going on, who's sin, him or his parents. They want to know the background to what's happening. Like they say, neither one of them. But it's just for the glory of Yah, may be fulfilled. This has to be done. This miracle has to be performed. But it was never a situation where the Mashiach just, free falling. Like, it was always an order. He didn't sit down with hypocrites. He sat down with unbelievers. Like that. He sat down with people that had not yet made the decision to come in, tax collector, and certain ones that were out there that was not. He didn't sit down with people that were supposed to be living right, but were living wrong. He didn't sit with those. And that's the mix-up. We're wanting to run with ones that are saying they're in the truth, but yet they're living hypocritical. that's not what Yahushua Mashiach did. When he sat with those that he sat with, his light was shining before unbelievers, not before believers that was living crooked. And so we have to watch out and be aware of. And if we don't watch out for that, we'll get manipulated and sucked into everything. Like, you don't have to agree with everything that's going on with ones that are supposed to be walking in the truth, and yet they're walking in some falsehood or something. You just can't allow it to happen. When you do that, they begin to be in that position where you're actually at that point, giving that which is holy, or which is kodesh, unto dogs at that point, because they're drawn from your energy. They're drawn from you, the very presence of you. They're drawn from the actual relationship of you. Certain relationship has to be cut off when certain ones begin to call themselves a believer, and it tells you not to even walk accompanied with certain ones in the scripture saying they're a believer, but yet they're walking in another way, in a way of darkness. It's like you have to know that you can't just say Yahuwah and Yah and all this stuff and use all these shalom and all these slang terms that we use, and then you living unrighteous like that. I hear all that, but I'm looking at you and you're not living right. I'm seeing how you are, like you rough behind the ears, like you're not easy to be entreated. You're not easy to be approached. It's like you retaliate real quick. Like, I'm looking at all this, you have no self-control. It's like everything that's going on, you have something to say back, in a sense of trying to assassinate that person's character. It's like, when you're like that right there alone is a red flag. It doesn't matter what they say, because this is what I've been saying through just observing. A lot of people are calling on the name of Yah, saying Mashiach and Shalom and stuff, but at the end of the day, doesn't seem like there's no type of righteousness being lived. It's like they're trying to establish their own righteousness by saying this is what they're in the truth, but at the same time, they're not walking upright. They're just trying to use this to hide behind. And at the, it's going to be a problem when the time comes. Like, the Most High is going to begin to let them know that, that you was not walking upright, that your work was a work of iniquity. And they're not going to think that it was, because they're caught up into the limelight, what I'm saying? Like, this walk here, got a lot of people deceived, thinking that once they came into the knowledge of truth of who they were, that now nothing else needs to happen. It doesn't take away the gifts of the Ruach HaKodesh. These are the things that we had already. We supposed to already been operating in the gifts and everything, operating in prophecy, operating in how to discern good from evil. And if you don't operate that way, we're talking about casting your prayer before swine, or not giving that which is holy unto dogs, because it'll cause your downfall. The atmosphere of it, just the very intent of this will cause your downfall, because you didn't intentionally seek the Most High before you got involved, or before you put what the Most High brought you with, or bless you with, to be able to utilize for somebody else. It's like, you got to look at, if you're saying you're of the Most High, that what you have is Kodesh. And what you're trying to share, no matter what it is, what resource that you have, is not supposed to just be poured out. It's supposed to be a calculation done when you begin to do this, because you're taken away. He may want you to do something else with it. And the reason why you do that, because you don't look at it as that you've been bought with a price. You don't look at it as it's the Most High inside of you, and the Mashiach inside you that's allowing you to do these things, but you take your own charge and do it because you're still saying that it's mine. And that's the reason why you can just go out and just help anybody, and the Mashiach, the Ruach HaKodesh didn't lead you to do it, because you're overlooking that. You're saying, look, bump that. I work for this man. I see they need them to help. But that's going to cause your downfall, because he's looking at it as disobedient, because you can't see that one that's being, not in the Most High's way, that don't want to turn. They don't want to hear when you witness to them, anything like that. It's always just give me. And it's always, look, I don't want to hear what you got to say. Or when they get what you've given them, they run off and you can't really get with them. They don't want to hear anything. You can't get nothing back. Like, that's not how it's supposed to work. Unless you have a focus and a mission. The Most High put you on a mission. The loose ends, you have to cut the loose ends off, unless the Ruach HaKodesh shows you that this is okay. Find the mission, stick with it. If it's feeding the homeless, whatever it is, find that mission and stick with it. But anything outside of that's just coming from you, just darts that's coming, I'm gonna call it a dart, just someone popping up begging, asking for something, or they showing you a sad story, trying to get you involved in something, whatever it may be, shun it. You just got to get away from it, because it's going to take you off of the focus of what the Most High wants you doing. This isn't saying you don't do anything. This is saying what you do, make sure that that's what the Most High is telling you to do, not what those that feel like they're entitled because they know you. Of a faith don't matter no more. Most High ain't dealing with that no more. It's all about now what he's saying, because at the end of all this, it's going to be calculated whether or not you did what he wants you to do, or whether or not you were manipulated, because you're not supposed to be manipulated. That's the thing. The reason why I'm saying it, because when you have discernment, you don't get manipulated. And we can talk about the gift of discernment. That's extra. But the Ruach HaKodesh has discernment. And if you have the Ruach, then you have a level of discernment that you can use that's not that actual gift that we're talking about. It's a whole different ballgame. Like you have faith that you have because you have the Ruach, but then you have the gift of faith, and you'll know it because some people that have it, they operate in an extraordinary way. They don't operate in a way that's normal. They operate on a higher level. And that's the difference. So we have no excuses. It's just that we allow clutter and we allow the things around us to clog us up so much to the point where we're not hearing the Ruach and we're moving in our own flesh. And when we do that, it'll cause our downfall.
I wanted to go back when you said about just listening.
Yeah.
You were saying most of the time you just listen, they really tell you what they're all about. It's just like the scripture says, be slow to speak and quick to listen. Because sometimes when some of us talk too much, I know I'm guilty of this, sometimes somebody can be telling you what their intent is if you just listen to them. And sometimes we start talking, then we give them excuses, we help them with their story. Oh, you're doing this because of that. We kind of help them out along the way. So it's very important that we are slow to speak and quick to listen. We need to practice that. I know I, for one, need to practice that more.
Me too.
That's all.
That's a key thing. That's why I wrote them things down, that listen very carefully, because if you don't, you're gonna miss something because you're so busy trying to tell them what they're telling you. Just listen to it. Right. I mean, when you listen to it, then it'll all begin to come to the forefront what they want, like that. We got Proverbs. Anyway, so let me say this first. I got down here, knowing who is really poor versus who is playing games. We know we talk about, helping the poor and stuff of that nature, but that's where the Ruach going to come in also. And so it talks about in Proverbs 19:17. We don't have to turn it out when it just talks about the Most High, is with the poor at all times. He that lends to the poor lends unto the Most High. And if you're lending unto the poor, you're lending unto the Most High. And it's not actually, he's the one that's going to pay you back. But the discernment comes in that through the Ruach is who is poor and who is not. And that's the thing. That's where when you're in the Ruach HaKodesh, you don't fall for games of people running up to the car, beating on your window. I mean, not saying he may not say give, but don't focus on that. That shouldn't be your focus because it's everywhere. Usually when you have something that's happening in a mass, like a situation where it's just a flood of it and it's everywhere, it's normally not it. I'm not saying it can never be the case, but it's like you can go out here in some of these big cities, especially where we at, and every block you may see somebody with some flowers or something and just halfway speaking, saying, help me, however they're saying it, and you can't really even tell it for real, like that, but they can say that. They learn how to say that like that. But my thing is, I say that, I know it's a little funny, but I say that because discernment most of the time it kicks in. I'd be like, man, they just sit there and taught them to do this. And I see the kids, but where are the fellas at? That was with them. And sometimes you'll see them, it's almost like they pimping them out there on the street corner trying to get them to get you to help them because they see that compassion to be doing. It's the art of manipulation. What I'm saying, like that compassion to be on this lady with these children, the one with the children. So she'll have the small ones be with them and the scroll or whatever it may be, and they'll be they got all kind of games out now. Now they got flowers. Now they out there, they playing the guitar, the violin, everything. It's a lot of stuff going on now. But the thing is, when you see that, it's normally not just a guy. And if it's just a guy, he's so skilled in his harp or something he's playing that it almost sounds just like the song. He's super skilled. It's almost like the record is playing. But when it's not that going on, it's the lady with the children, and it's them barely being able to say help me, but they'll say that to you, and you'll just try to get you to be manipulated into what they want you to do. And you don't know what they got going on. But all I gotta say is be aware of this stuff. Make sure that when you're doing something, this isn't to say, because I can't sit here and say the Most High never said, but I will sit and say 90% of it, at least how I feel, is fluff. This is just from what I discern from it. I can say this boldly, because if I don't say it, I'll be lying anywhere. And the Most High knows this how I feel like that. So it's like just saying it straight out. I don't perceive everybody that's out there is in that position, because I don't need you to show me this. Like the Most High will show you. Like it ain't always that situation. That situation where the Ruach may show you a person behind you coming up, and he may say, look, pay this for them or whatever. It could be anything. And they went on the corner. I mean, it don't have to be the world tried to show you one way. A hustle tried to show you one way. And it's not one way to help somebody. It's not what they show you. It's not always like that. Just because someone comes up and they don't look thrown away and they don't look like their shoes are tore up and all that, that don't mean that they're not in position. You know, they're in a bad position. Like they may have just got in that position. Their clothes didn't go away like that. That mean people just don't run around looking like a throwaway, you know, all the time. You have people that may have things and it may not be designer things. It may be just, they just look neat and their clothes are clean and they keep themselves up, but they just don't have enough to make it. And they don't have enough to make ends meet. This person is in poverty, they're poverty stricken. It ain't all about not having shoes and clothes on and being dirty. Like this is the image that, you know, that we have to get out of our head. We don't just say that this is not the image, but we have to make sure that we're not limiting our thinking to the person having to come up looking a certain way for them to need help. The same thing with somebody that you need to listen to, that the Most High may be bringing you to tell you something, can be looking real rough and bad, but they'll have something to tell you. And if you listen, then it'll be the Most High speaking through them. But you won't, you know, most of the time we have to we have to get rid of all the stereotypes and everything that we see that that the world has shown us of how a person should look that needs help, or how a person looks that's got money. Because a lot of times that's the opposite way. I see millionaires and billionaires that wear a t-shirt and jeans like that. And so it's like, we can't look at it like that. Just because he come up with a suit don't mean I need to hear what he got to say. That's the thing. So it's like, we have to make sure that we're using the ruach, not images, you know, not what the picture shows us. Yeah, learn images. And we can't deal with that. When we see this person that comes up, we have to look at the psychology of body language. Because when a slickster comes up, you can tell because a slickster, you know, has this quickness about themselves, and they're trying to get you, you know, to be, you know, to fall real quick for what they're doing. They're snapping, you know, the way they come off is like it's one thing after another, to the point where they try to bring some form of anxiousness to you. They want to try to get you anxious to be involved in what they're doing. So they're telling you real fast, and they're going from one thing to another.
They don't want to give you time to think.
Yeah, you ain't got time to think. They jump from one thing to another, and they told you the greatest part of everything. And one thing to another. Next thing you know, you bought into it, and here it is. No, you're in a rut. Like that, you done bought some business or whatever that they were selling. Whatever. Yeah. Just gotta be careful, and that's why we have to use discernment. And if you use discernment, you'll know what to get involved in and what not to get involved in, because your time is valuable also. You don't need nobody holding you up for no 20 or 30 minutes telling you about something, and the Most High don't want you involved. You have to know to cut it off. You don't owe anybody your time either. That's another thing you have to realize when it comes to that point. My wife would tell you, sometimes I feel like it's food and I know I'm not supposed to be dealing with it. I shut it down quick. I don't be rude. I say, look, no, hey, I gotta go. You know what I'm saying? I say, I gotta go. No offense, but I gotta go. Yeah, because I already see it coming. You know what I'm saying? You know, I had a guy trying to stop me pulling up to the drive-through to buy something. I quickly did like that. It's not the time. I mean, you don't quote, this is a place of business. You shouldn't be blocking this actual driveway while we coming up to try to order food. Like that is not the time for it. He walked on. He got the picture real quick. Like, but global people be like, oh, here go this guy. He's sad. He's at the drive-through. It's out of water. Like that. I mean, you got a guy pretty much where you need to be at to order the food in front of the mic almost. Like that, like you see the microphone, his head come right on the side, and I'm like, man, look, you need to move. I mean, like that, this ain't the time for this. But when you don't understand, you'll entertain it, and it's not supposed to be entertained. Because I will tell you that when I saw that guy, the first thing came to my mind. I saw him walking good. I can't say it's in all the best mental health or not, but I'm not going to deem everybody to have a mental problem that I see out there either. You know what I mean, like that. So we have to say, okay, look. If you don't have a mental problem and you have enough sense to calculate or be able to function normally to hold a good conversation with, what you need to be asking for if you don't have it, identification and to get down to the Social Security office and get your card, and they'll put you to work immediately. Some of these jobs need you so bad, they'll probably give you a bus fare, bus ticket to get there. Like that. It's like everybody's time. So it's really no excuse when you're not mentally disabled, something like that. We just have to be aware. So just stop being so gullible and falling for the games and tricks and schemes of family members and people out here in the world that's trying to manipulate you, because it's not their stuff. It's yours. The Most High gave it to you, and it's up to you to be a good steward over it. Nobody can manipulate anything that doesn't belong to them. So if it don't belong to me, then how am I going to let you manipulate it for me to use it toward you? Who are you to tell me what to do with something that, you know, that my father blessed me with? You know what I mean? Like that. So it's not supposed to work that way. And well, that's a lot of that. We're going to go to Proverbs 30, verse 15 and 16. Yeah. You go ahead.
Proverbs 30, 15. The horse leech has two daughters, crying, give, give. There are three things that are never satisfied. Yea, four things say not, it is enough.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. Now, the horse leech is a leech that has teeth that just sucks. You know, it sucks on animals, it just sucks. I just looked at it briefly, but it's an actual leech. And something that's a leech can't be satisfied. I'm saying when you're dealing with a leech, its whole job is to suck, is to take. A leech that is not designed to give back. It's designed just to suck. You know what I'm saying? We can just look at that in general and just say, okay, look, a leech, you know, you're not getting that back out of that. It's gonna be a subtraction when a leech show up. There's always a subtraction when they show up. And this goes for anything or anybody. If it's something, a substance or anything that's taken from you, taken from your health, from your mental ability, anything to function with like that, it's a leech. If it's somebody that's coming, they're draining from you and they're energy drainers, it's a leech. If they're not adding nothing back, the word says iron sharp as iron. Don't say iron gets dull. That's the thing. So when your iron is getting dull, being around them, it's an issue like that, whatever the case may be. So we don't want to get caught up into not being able to realize when it's a leechy situation going on or somebody that's a leech. You go ahead.
16, Sheol and the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that says not, it is enough.
Okay, and so we know that when you're dealing with the grave, it's never going to be satisfied. It constantly, you know, it's ready. It's constantly ready for those that want to go there. I mean, and however they ended up. And, you know, we talked about the fire, you know, fire is never quenched. I mean, like that, when you're dealing with fire, especially when you have water, you know, it doesn't put fire, it helps ignite it. You know what I'm saying? It gives it oxygen. So you have to be careful about these things in general. You have to make sure that you're not allowing stuff to suck from you. You have to make sure that you're not allowing yourself to be in position where you're not getting the advantage at all. Sometimes we find ourselves in position that we put ourselves in because of our sympathy that we had towards something that the Most High didn't want us to have. And that's we have to be careful because, you know, we'll look into it a little later on some of the stuff that kind of breaks that down. But I just want to show that scripture about the leech and everything. So let's look at Matthew 15, 21 through 30. While we turn to it, I just kind of give an idea of a background of what I want to get to on the point I want to make with Matthew 15, 21 through 30. The woman that was trying to get the attention of the Mashiach, she was not of Yashar, you know what I'm saying? I think she was from Canaan or some of that nation, but she wasn't of the lost sheep, the lost tribe of Israel. And knowing that, the Most High sent the Mashiach to us. And knowing that, she still was not set up like somebody that's trying to manipulate anything. You'll see the actual steps it took for to get the Mashiach's attention. He wasn't just gullible, running around here just doing things. When he was on his mission, he was on his mission. When ones tried to interfere with that mission, they had to prove themselves worthy. And steps had to be taken before they got to that point. They didn't just come get from him because he was the Mashiach. So we got to stop that. You know what I'm saying? It was a breakdown and a shakedown. And it showed them showing the reverence toward him and the humility. And that's when he released because it wasn't his mission at the time. Go ahead.
Matthew 15.
Yeah, Matthew 15, starting off at the
21.
starting at the 21st verse.
Matthew 15, 21. Then Yahushua went thence and departed into the coast of Zar and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Adonai, a son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word.
Now you see that, say, but he answered her not a word. We talked about ignoring. That's the thing. So it say he answered her not a word. He was rude, wasn't it? Most people say, oh, he shouldn't have done that. Well, we have to quit letting people dictate how we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. It wasn't his business. It say when you'll see later when you get down toward the end, he was conducting business there in that coast, but it wasn't for her at the time. It say he answered her not a word. Now he answered her not a word because he was still about his father's business. And we have to be that way. But look what it takes in order to get him to pay us some attention. There was no games being played. It just showed that he recognized, okay, look, I can turn and take care of this loose end right quick because it showed me it's not up for no games. So I'm finna take care of this and get right back to my business. So go ahead.
23. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she cries after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Yashraal. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Adonai, help me.
So she worshiped, she showed humility. She didn't just ask for the help. She said she came, she started out crying. And then she came and worshiped, saying, Adonai, help me.
But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs.
Okay, and see, and this showing right then, it's saying, no, he's not trying to give that which is kodesh unto dogs. And we see that what she need is a devil cast out. She don't need no money. So it's not based on just finances all the time. Go ahead.
And she said, truth, Adonai, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table.
Another sign of humility.
Then Yahusha answered and said unto her, O woman, great is your belief, but be it unto you as even you will. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour.
Okay, so we're going to stop here for a second just to look at when we get into Hebrews 11, when it talks about without belief, it's impossible to please Yah. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. So she showed belief. That what moved him. It's belief that moves Yah. And it goes on to say, he that come to Yah must believe that he is, and that he is the reward of those that diligently seek him. He was Yah in the flesh. And we see this right here. What went on, she diligently sought after him. And she did not turn. She didn't just do it by just following him. She did it with faith. And she did it with actions also. Like it say, faith without works is dead. She did it with action. It says she worshiped him. She agreed with the things that were true. And she still stayed humble, and she still stayed persistent. She ain't let go until he began to release what she needed. Go ahead.
29. And Yahusha departed from thence and came nigh to the Sea of Galilee and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Yahusha's feet, and he healed them.
Okay, just so much I wanted to stop there because of the fact that it shows that that's what was going on, but at this particular case, it wasn't for this particular person at the time. And so we can slice it. However, at the end of the day, he had to get from out what he was doing just to entertain what she had going on. But the steps that got her there was actually her being humble and actually just showing reverence toward him. It's like people ain't even humble towards you. It's not that they're supposed to worship you or anything like that, but it's like they're not showing no type of gratitude or anything. Half of the people that you're trying to help most of the time don't even acknowledge the fact that you're involved in the Mashiach, or they're against you being in this walk in the truth. I'm not saying anything like everybody got to agree with this for you to help them, but what I am saying, when a person's constantly showing resistance, you don't have to. That's the thing like that. When you see, you don't want to hear nothing I got to say about this, but yet you want me to help you pay a light bill, or you want me to do this when it's time. I'm not, this is not how this works. Like, you're not a genie in the bottle to people because you're saying you're a believer. Like, you don't owe anybody anything outside the will of the Most High. This is what we mess up at. We mix this up into looking at the word love as some sense of being gullible. Like, that's not how it works. You know, it's the love of Yah that's gonna keep the fire of hell burning. And that's what people don't realize. It's not just set up where you're actually just, you know, you're supposed to just be set up where you're just running around doing things without thinking. Like, you're not supposed to be giving your last to some of these ministries and stuff like that when you know you got a family to feed. You're gonna be in a position where it say he that doesn't take care of his own is worse than an infidel. So it's like you have to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, which is those things that are of a necessity before you start doing things that people have need of. That's not the mission that the Most High put you on. And so you just have to stay focused. Yeah, anything. All right, with that being said, we're going to close it out with prayer. For y'all, we thank right now for the word that went forth. We thank right now for just allowing, you know, us to have the ability to discern and begin to know right from wrong, good from evil. We just thank you right now for baracking us, those that don't have it, with the gift of discernment, for y'all. We thank right now for just being with us throughout the rest of this day. We thank as we depart, we just keep you in our hearts and minds. In the name of your son, Yeshua, we pray, so be it.